the CTO and the CMO is the most important right now in restaurants. Well, first of all, to be a CMO, you have to be a little bit crazy. No matter if you're on the restaurant side or the tech side, I mean, being a CMO is just a massive job. It has the highest turnover of any of the C-suite roles.
My guest today is Jenifer Kern. She's a CMO at Qu. Qu is a restaurant technology company evolving POS responsibly for a more sustainable future. I want to know what that means, Jenifer. And right now, offering the industry's first unified commerce platform. Q's fully integrated products go beyond fragmented ordering and tech experiences to create healthier connections for restaurant operating teams and their many stakeholders. So Jenifer, I want to dig into that in a little bit. First, what I want to do is, this is a cool episode for me because we spend a majority of our time helping marketing leaders, specifically in the restaurant industry, by sharing the experiences of other marketing leaders in the restaurant industry. And so kind of a peer-to-peer learning. In this case, it's very unique and we have a cool opportunity to, not only are you supporting this industry, but you're also a marketing leader. So it's very meta. And I want to be able to offer value to our audience and getting your perspective on what's going on right now in the industry and what's your perspective and your team's perspective on what a bright path can look like as it relates to unified commerce and data. So we'll save that. Jenifer, as a marketing leader and as a professional and as a person, just give us an understanding about your journey so far. Who are you and why do you love the role you're in?
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much, Caleb. That was really a lovely introduction. I super appreciate that. Very humbling. And thanks for the opportunity to come on. I know you usually talk to restaurant marketers. And as I've said before, I have so much respect for restaurant marketing leaders and anyone in restaurant marketing. It is a very, very full-time job, to say the least, and just lots of things to manage. So I just feel very honestly privileged that I found my way into marketing at a very young age. There's a lot of people that don't ever find like their passion and their calling. And I was a writer at heart. I've always been very creative. And I started out in journalism. And what I learned in journalism many years ago is that it pays terribly and they smoked back then.
That's awesome.
At least the type of journalism I was doing for a local newspaper.
Yeah.
But it tapped into that insatiable curiosity that I have. And I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a very avid learner. And so I love journalism. And then I just kind of, I won't get into the whole long story, but through some travels and international studies and foreign languages, I ended up working at a cosmetics company in the marketing department, helping with package translation. And that was my first entree in marketing. And it was quite a while ago. And I just got bit by the bug. We say that in hospitality, but I've had a very diverse career that has spanned, working in a B2C company and then having my own company as a small marketing agency, working for other larger agencies, and then eventually finding my way into tech, I'd say in the early 2000s when tech became big and fused with marketing. And that sort of reignited my love of marketing. And I found my way into B2B SaaS companies in around 2015. And so I've worked for a few B2B SaaS companies. I've been at Q now for almost 7 years. And it was my first restaurant tech company. I have a love of hospitality. And I had worked obviously in, I don't want to say obviously, but most Americans have, my first job was at a snack bar. So, and then I was a waitress and I was a bus girl. And so I did all the restaurant jobs, growing up, but I hadn't been in the restaurant industry in many, many years. And coming back to it as a foodie, as someone very passionate about technology at a time before the pandemic, when things were just starting to really take off and change from a digital transformation standpoint, has just been amazing. I really feel like it's been such a fascinating journey. So
that's awesome.
Honored to be here and thank you for the time. Yeah.
I love that. I'm curious about whether or not you believe, because I believe this is the case, but how much of a competitive advantage or superpower do you feel like you have by starting your journey as a writer? Like the power of being able to write and have mastery around the written word and copy. Has that set you up? Because it's a very undervalued, underappreciated, but highly critical.
Yeah, I'm laughing about it because of AI now, right? Because I was very quizzical of AI when it came out, and marketers were gobbling it up and using it for their content. Like a
Yeah.
year or two ago. I was like, I have a little bit of snobbery around writing, but it's really come a long way. And it's getting quite good. But you're right. And I would say even more than writing, I would say that mind, that curious mind that I talked about,
Yeah.
which is both a pro and a con sometimes, but like,
And painting a story, right? We learn through storytelling and narrative, but it's not very easy to tell a story, right?
yeah. I
Let me
also
ask you.
have just one more thing quickly. I think is important, and I see this in a lot of marketers, and that is part of my background growing up. A very personal part of my background is that I learned how to transport myself. Again, this is something is a challenge and an opportunity, but I learned how to transport myself into other people's lives. And so not only do I have a lot of empathy, but I love marketing because I love that challenge of thinking like other people think.
Yeah,
Like, how do you get into other people's heads and think like them? Because that is our biggest opportunity, and that's how we win in marketing is
totally.
it's the Peter Drucker. You know the product so well it sells itself, right? So I think that piece is important too.
Yeah, and being able to define people's problems to them better than they can define it
Right,
themselves, right? And that
right.
takes I'm a big believer in empathy led
Yeah.
anything. Okay, well that's cool. Geek out on that. Now, one other thing when you mentioned AI, isn't it pretty powerful to have a writer and a storyteller and a trained disciplinarian in that craft behind the controls of AI? Like
Hmm.
that's next level stuff, right?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. And like I said, I was a little bit, questioning it all. And now I see the power and the potential of it. I still do believe in the human intervention in the brain. Like, let's not forget to use our brains, please.
Yeah, please. It's a
Please,
it's a
please.
thinking AI is a thinking partner, right?
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
doing homework for us.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned to you before in our previous conversations, I've spent a majority of my career sort of learning about and being curious and inquisitive about what goes on in the mind of CMOs and VPs
Mm.
of marketing, senior marketing leaders, primarily in this crazy restaurant industry. Tell me about your understanding of them, specifically your understanding of the task at hand or the mandate that these folks have and how sort of complex and non-linear it is.
Well, first of all, to be a CMO, you have to be a little bit crazy. No matter if you're on the restaurant side or the tech side, I mean, being a CMO is just a massive job. It has the highest turnover of any of the C-suite roles. The average tenure of a CMO it used to be, I don't know if it's changed, like 14 to 16 months. Quite short. I have lived that, and that's tough to turn over that quickly because think about the amount of onboarding and learning and training like you're doing yourself, and then to have to turn that back over. Well, I'm obviously, biased. That's what I am, but it's a tough job. It sits at the intersection of so many things in a company, and so you do have to be a little crazy. I always say when people say, "Oh, I want to be a CMO," I say, "Be careful what you wish for," you know, right? You have no idea what you might be getting into. But it's also really exhilarating and challenging. And that's, I think, one of the reasons I've stayed. I will say burnout is real. I've seen a lot of CMOs on sabbatical, even recently. So there is a definite, in my mind, there's a definite need for balance, like a constant striving for balance.
Mm,
And it's balance for me, it's about creating that open space so that I can think and do my best work.
yeah.
So if I'm constantly, because it's very easy for a marketer to be heads down all day. We used to say, get out of your desk, like go sit, go to a customer site, or go, just get out from the minutia of the doing. We tend to be big doers.
Yeah.
But in terms of what's in front, I think you're asking mostly about restaurant marketers, the
Yeah.
question. Yeah, in terms of, what's going on today in the environment. We talked in our pre-call about when I came into the industry in 2019, I looked across the whole industry and I did not see a lot of CMOs. I saw a lot of directors of marketing that had the most senior title. And I quickly realized that, first of all, I had had the honor of coming from an industry that essentially created the CMO role. Technology essentially created the CMO role.
Oh, really? I didn't know
These
that.
SaaS companies, yeah, B2B SaaS companies were essentially the first to embrace CMOs, give them a strategic seat at the table and in the boardroom. And realized that CMOs were very critical decision makers as part of the company direction. I looked across restaurants and I thought, oh, well, this makes sense because they've lagged behind in adopting technology. They've lagged behind in valuing the role of a CMO. and putting that strategic spotlight on the CMO role. And so I took it upon myself as a little bit of a personal mission to help elevate the role of marketing leaders in restaurants. And as you know, I started that podcast called Restaurants Reinvented. I'm not running it anymore, but I did run it for almost 4.5 years. And I had about 30 heads of marketing on in the very beginning. And some of them, after they were on, even got promotions to CMOs. So I was like, wow, this is great. So it has become much more mainstream in restaurants to have that position in the company. However, the amount of project work and the amount of responsibility that they have has not changed. There's still a significant amount of tactical work. Marketing team tends to be underfunded, right? And you have multiple people and doing multiple things that across different disciplines of marketing. And that's true for our company as well. But what's happening today, and where I see that we're at the intersection of, is we've been trying for quite a while to get to that single source of truth, the guest data, right? How do we see that full picture of the guest, whether they're making an online order, they're coming in the store, they're using a kiosk, and they're at the drive-thru? How do you know that person in all 4 of those spots? It's virtually impossible today. We have massive amounts of technology, and it's still like the way far away out of reach for so many restaurants, which is such a shame. And there are so many people that are very passionate, including our company, about changing that and getting towards that single source of truth so that you can be in real time in front of your guests, giving them the thing that you know that they're going to want based on their past buying behavior. So what I've seen, particularly in my side of the business, is when we have a large project and there's an RFP or there's a company that's saying, like, we want to change our POS, and we start talking to them about what unified commerce is and how that goes beyond just a POS. The next thing we start usually talking about is their data and asking them, like, how they're capturing their data. CDPs became quite a big thing in our industry a couple years ago, and that's kind of ebbing and flowing. And we talked to them about how we help unify data across ordering channels so that they can get to better visibility with the guests. What I've noticed and what we talked about is the marketers are very rarely in those discussions with us. They aren't involved in what I would consider a very important decision in the company. It is a technology decision. It typically will be led by a CTO, but that alignment between the COO, the CTO, and the CMO is the most important right now in restaurants. We're running our State of Digital. It's our 7th year running our annual State of Digital survey, and one of the questions we ask is about alignment. And it's coming up as very low. The restaurant brands are answering that it's very low in the executive suite. They're all so busy in their lanes.
I was going to ask you, why, in your opinion, are the CMOs not in these conversations? Busy tactically, or?
I think there's still a lag factor. I think that as they come into a more strategic role, they're still getting pulled back and staying in their lane of loyalty and, guest experience and driving that same source sales growth, which is obviously the most important thing they're going to be doing, is selling hamburgers or whatever they're selling, right? And watching that same store sales growth hopefully go up. But when you're in a time like you are now, everyone's worried about, top line is not driving as quickly right now. And so you're looking at bottom line, you're looking at how can you be more efficient? And technology is absolutely a route to be more efficient, and having a stronger grasp on your data in a more efficient and unified way is also going to help there. So I think that there's still in some of those buckets of campaigns and OTV and, these videos and doing their ads, and that, like I said, it's a full-time job. But getting to that strategic C-level discussion and being at those tables, like I've had, I know several heads of marketing that say they're not in those executive meetings sometimes.
Yeah, I see it.
I don't get that.
I want one sec. So to kind of substantiate a point here, and then to go into that some more about the conversation needs to be integrated. The right people need to be there, and we need single points of truth to be able to do our job as CMOs. But before any of that, like, what are the conditions under which a restaurant brand should have a CMO role, in your opinion? And if those conditions are the case and a CMO is placed, what should be the mandate of a CMO? I want to go there first, and then let's go back to data.
That's a really good question. I mean, my initial gut reaction would be size, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. It's like not necessarily the size of the brand, but the growth goals of the brand, the funding and ownership of the brand, the advanced level of the brand. Like we have some smaller brands that are very tech forward because they're very innovation forward and future forward. And they have documented growth strategies. They have that investment. They know that they're going to be doing, selling 200 franchises in the next year.
Right.
Like they have if you've got stated goals like that and you've got a plan like that, you need a CMO to help you execute that,
Yeah.
right?
Goals,
If you don't
goals
really
around
have,
growth. Goals around growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's more around growth and also if it's not size, it's intended size. Like, what are you trying to get to?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maturity of the brand doesn't, again, could be an inflection point for CMO. Like if you're a legacy brand trying to reinvent yourself, you want a CMO.
Right.
But if you're like what Dave's Hot Chicken was 3 years ago and you're just starting in yeah,
Wild.
one of our customers who I love, look what they did with a great CMO. Look at the brand they built, right? I mean, and they built that, and I'm sure it was the owners and the co-founders helped build it. It's that very
Yeah. Yeah.
graffiti
Yeah.
like, but that they did so many things so well early on that set them up for the success they're having now. And they've always had very strong marketing leadership at that
Yeah.
company. But, it's not just the CMO, right? You can't just have a CMO in a vacuum. You need the CTO, you need the COO, and you need the right leadership.
Yeah. Working as one unit, right?
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
conditions are such the CMO is a necessary role,
Mhm.
then and I agree with you that so many CMOs today, like part of it is a misunderstanding, I think, in terms of when the CMO is needed and then what
Yeah.
role they play, because they will
Right.
always have graduated from an intern to a coordinator to a manager to a director, and then all of a sudden one day they're CMO. But
Hmm.
the day to day still lives in the manager director. Well, so when you're in that CMO role, what is your perspective on what must or what ought to be that person's mandate in a correct articulation of CMO? Well, so when you're in that CMO role, what is your perspective on what must or what ought to be that person's mandate in a correct articulation of CMO? Yeah.
Right. It's really setting the direction and strategy along with the rest of the C-suite,
Yeah.
right? With the executives.
Yeah.
And I say the most important relationship is at that level. It's those relationships and the CEO, the owner, they need to have a strong vision.
Yeah.
They need to have strong goals, right? I've been lucky. I work with Amir, who's an amazing CEO. He's constantly pushing us to innovate. He has amazing vision. And that really works well for me because then I can take that and build strategy and ideation. He doesn't tell me what to go build and do,
Right.
but he sets that vision. And then I feel like I have that white space to go create.
Yeah.
So I think that having that at that very top is so important. But then you also want to be surrounded. And you don't need to have there don't need to be a lot of executives, but you need a couple that are very passionate about that space
Yeah.
to help you build the strategy, to have that ability to be not only creative, but then bring in the right tech tools, right? The right software that you need to support yourself.
Totally. So if you have that vision, you have that integration and alignment with the rest of the C-suite, that's step one. But I
Mhm.
think, as you know, especially in the QSR and the fast casual space, these
Mhm.
brands they've been held back for so long by like disjointed systems, old architecture,
Yeah,
and how can you fulfill the
right.
vision and play your role when you're looking at stuff all over the place? Some of it is
Yeah.
lying data, and some of it is old, some of it. But tell me about
Yeah.
that.
I think there's nothing more important for me than being able to step out of the mayhem, the chaos, and get a big picture perspective and borrow examples from other industries. Retail has been through what restaurants are going through.
Yeah, that's a
Hospital,
good point.
hotel, like there are so many airlines, you name it. There are so many industries that have gone through this. Find a couple mentors and people to follow and learn. But I think we have we're a little bit our own enemies in this industry in that we get stuck using the same kind of processes and tools and technologies and patterns and conferences and all these things, right? But to take that step back and really decide what is going to be best. Like we're in this because we want to make the company the best they can be, right? It's like making your best version of yourself. It's like that's what marketers are trying to do for companies. Step back, like what is going to be the best thing? It might not be anything in marketing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And we
totally.
shouldn't limit ourselves to marketing. You know what I mean? Like I've done things outside of marketing in our team. Like,
Totally.
but you need to step back and be like constantly like, what is the best next thing for the company? Maybe I do need to go sit with the CTO and look at the 15 different systems we have and talk to him or her about how we maybe pick 5
Yeah.
that are going to get us to that next level of growth that we need to get to or efficiency.
Yeah.
or that the team is going to love. But you've got to be able to not only attract and retain those guests, you have to be able to attract and retain the right employees and people that are going to love
So
working for you. Yeah. So I just feel like I'm not going to have like silver bullet answers, but that like
yeah.
big picture perspective, like that's what makes it seem like, how do I make this company make its next right pivot?
Yeah.
Companies are constantly pivoting and evolving, right? Will never be standing still.
Do you think that I agree? And I don't think there is a silver bullet answer to any of these,
Yeah.
Jenifer, but your perspective is helpful. And I'm curious about, I mentioned to you earlier that I think I have a hypothesis, I guess, that with the situation being what it is in this industry and so much uncertainty for growth and for attraction and retention of customers, like, do you think, like I think, that there's a real opportunity for the CMO to not just be a voice at the table sometimes, but maybe the voice at the table more often, just because everything we're doing is so meant to be so customer centric and getting it? Tell me
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I mean, there's data out there around this. I mean, the macroeconomic conditions, we actually polled our advisory board on this. They don't see it changing, and this is in fast casual and QSR. They don't see it changing in the next 12 to 18 months. Like
Really?
next year is going to be a lot of what the second half of this year look like. And what does that mean? What it means and what we've heard and what our customers are telling us is every single guest check size has to be maximized. How can you drive up that average order volume? Because the guest numbers aren't going to double and triple, you know, like they've done in previous years.
Right.
Foot traffic is down.
Right.
Foot traffic is down. Online ordering might be up a slight tick, but the most important thing is how are you maximizing each guest? Who is responsible for that?
So before the game was how do we get people to come back more often? But now it's how do we get them to be okay with coming back once, spending more when they're here?
Exactly. Right. So we've been working on this pitch about how the next generation of restaurants is going to be more impacted by technology than taste. And
Tell me about that.
that in the past, like it was all about special items and ingredients and value. I mean, we've been talking a lot about value and convenience, but what we really see now is the companies that are going to win and the restaurants that are going to win are those that really have the most innovative, future-proof tech.
Interesting.
And without that sort of common foundation and having a modern foundation for your entire tech stack, whether it's all in one or best in class, having that modern foundation is what's going to help you stay ahead longer.
Is
Because
that
yeah,
is that because is it around like just better, more seamless, more efficient experience for a customer?
it's a lot of things. I mean, it's the changing guest. I mean, look at what AI is doing. You know, now you can supposedly, I haven't done it yet, but you can order on ChatGPT. Right?
Yeah.
You can order food. I mean, look how quickly things are changing in technology. I mean, where we are with AI today
It
and a
might not
year.
even be me interviewing you right now.
I know. It's unrecognizable. So if you don't have that foundation, Caleb, the way we built our foundation is called microservices. It's very agile, focused. And we're also using edge computing, which is very real-time data close to the source of the data. These types of things, even though they might sound like way off tech terms, that's the future foundation that's going to last for the next, hopefully 5-10 years, right? But people that are using legacy stacks that have infused modern pieces into their legacy stack, that's what keeps breaking and slowing things down. Why do you think there's so many stability issues still in restaurants? How many times systems are going down, payments are going down? I mean, we're still having basic like on and off problems in restaurants.
Is that because of the disjointedness? Like, is
It's
the idea of unification of stack the antidote to that?
it can help. What our antidote has been bringing the public cloud into the store. So that's what we've used edge computing for. So we've gotten over reliant on the cloud, right? The public cloud, and it's expensive. So to do AI in the cloud is going to be
Right.
cost prohibitive for restaurants. So what we did several years ago is we created this edge computing. It's a very small node that sits in the restaurant that replicates everything in the public cloud. And our customers are seeing way off the charts increase in stability. When there was the big cloud issue with AWS in October, none of them went down. Or was it November? I forget. The months are flying by.
Yeah, November. I remember.
Yeah, none of our customers, even ones as big as Jack in the Box, did not go down. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because we've done that work for restaurants
Yeah.
to help them keep their doors open. It's basic blocking and tackling from our technology standpoint. Number one, keep orders coming in. How do you do that? You have an always on system. And then we go down from there.
Can you unpack for the maybe the simpleton like me or others listen, like unified commerce platform? What does that mean in layman's terms?
Yeah. It is a lot of words, but our point was we go beyond POS. The POS on the counter, the one-way order taking system has been gone for a long time. There are now within any restaurant business anywhere from 3 to 10 ordering channels. And what we mean by unified commerce is we unify the menu at a single level. We build the menu one time and we propagate it across all those channels. There are companies that just do that. You've heard of menu management companies, right? And companies that just do, but that's foundational in our technology. There's a single menu management system. So menus, and if we're coming from an offline, a third-party offline system, that menu is going to get pushed into queue and pushed back out. Our preference, and it gets complicated, but our preference is we create that menu the first time. We own and the native menu data. And that makes a big difference because you think of each menu item, and in our world, we think of each menu item as a SKU, just like we would in retail. Yeah. And that SKU, whether it's a piece of lettuce on a hamburger or in a salad, it can have different characteristics and it can change. It's what we call a dynamic menu item. So it gets very complicated very quickly, but I think the most important thing is this single menu capability for all the channels. And what that does is it normalizes the data. The data might come from other places, but it's coming in through one consistent API flow. It's being what we call, and people say, what do you mean by that? Like we clean the data, it's normalized. It's better than disjointed data. Let's put it that way.
So if you're launching an LTO, for example, one edit propagates downstream everywhere.
Correct. And one of the things our customers have told us is they can launch LTOs in half the time as their previous providers. Like they can launch an LTO that day.
Right.
Versus in the past, it might have taken them a month. Like seriously, a month.
Yeah.
Because you got to build it in every channel. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So that's the foundation. Then what happens?
Well, let me just clarify one other thing, because when we came out with the category Unified Commerce Platform, it was adopted by some of our lovely competitors as well. Some competitors, when they talk about Unified Platform, they do mean they're all in one, meaning they own all the tech front of house and back of house. We do not define unified commerce that way. We define unified commerce as, hey, you restaurant, you're going to build the tech stack and pick the tech that you believe is best for you. We're going to make sure it's all integrated, well integrated, without a lot of red tape. It's what we would call a best-in-class system. We do own most of the front of house aspects, like we have kiosk, KDS, we have our own online ordering, obviously the POS, the drive-through. Like we have all those products. We do not do back of house products. So when we say unified commerce, we don't mean we own all the commerce. We mean you build your system the way that's best for you to unify your ecosystem.
That's awesome. Surely there'd be some tech though that you would prefer they don't use. I don't know.
I don't know. It depends. I would have to think of a use case.
Well, if you have to think about it, then it means that more likely than not, that's very interesting, because at the end of the day, people, brands, leadership teams, they support what they help create. And if you're forcing them into a box of this is the tech stack, then it's like, okay, well,
exactly.
It's like my parents telling me I'm going to rebel. Okay, got it. Okay, so the foundation's in place. Then what this commerce revolution, the unified commerce platform, like where do we go from here? How does this set me up as a CMO?
Yeah. Well, the evolution and what we're looking at now is that evolution. First, it's the evolution from the POS to a more unified ecosystem, right? This unified, what we talked about, like the tech stack. Like we want to reduce your tech debt. Like you don't need to have middleware with Q. You don't need, like we have direct third-party integrations. You don't need to go hire another company to help your systems talk to each other. So you're reducing your tech debt. You're getting a more manageable, and hopefully that will mean more profitable and scalable platform. And then you're going to evolve that into the unified data, right? So you can make more intelligent decisions. And that's what we're seeing now in the world at large, which is this push towards intelligence. If it doesn't make sense for you to be doing the ones and twos and pluses and minuses behind the scenes, automate that back end stuff and bring your data together in a way that it can think for you so that you can make those decisions faster. Because the fact of the matter is restaurants need to make decisions in a second all day long. Yeah. And that guest flow, like seasonality, weather, like you name it, things change so quickly. It's very hard to have a long runway and a lot of predictability. So I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what, our Jack in the Box customer told us. Like, the decision used to be, we used to have to make the decision within weeks, and today it has to be in days and hours. And he works very closely, Doug, the CTO, works very closely with the marketing team so that they can make those decisions faster. And that's what the unification gets you.
Yeah. Why do those decisions need to be made faster now?
I mean, I know myself as a consumer. Like, I'm
I
very
want it
picky.
now.
I want what I want when I want it. Like, oh, my taste bud today is soup. It's cold. I want soup. So, like I said, you've got weather, you've got events, you have life changes, you have new restaurant openings near you. You have people online all the time now searching by ingredients and food categories,
Yeah.
right? If you're not omnipresent and you're not easy to order from,
Yeah.
forget it. And that's
Totally.
why we're saying technology over taste, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I have this thing on my mind and my palate that I want. It might be a hamburger. Some days I just want a hamburger. I'm going to find the closest, easiest, fastest hamburger. It might not be a 9.0 on Yelp.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an 8.1. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because if I know from my previous experience that I'm going to get that hamburger and it's going to be pretty good and fresh, that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
So I
Interesting.
just think like there's so many factors, but as we mentioned before, with macroeconomic being the way it is, it's really squeezing the QSR industry, not to mention the GLPs, right? It's really squeezing it. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. I had French fries on the way home from work yesterday.
As long as it doesn't change my order.
I put a lot of extra salt on them.
Do you think this is interesting? Like, we're talking about this role of the modern day CMO, especially in this industry. It's like, okay, let's say in this scenario with a unified commerce platform, they all of a sudden have access to real time data that allows them to make day or week based
Mhm.
decisions. Do you think that a new role of the CMO is to almost take this mindset of discernment and be a bit judicious? Because like I could see you going the wrong way where because you have access to the unified commerce platform, you make decisions and changes all the time, and you might over engineer it a little bit. You might get too
Yeah.
cute with changes. You might broke what was not broken before. Like maybe part of the role in for the CMO in having this data and the ability to make these decisions is making the decision not to make a decision sometimes. You know what I mean?
Sure, we definitely can overdo it if we have too much information at our fingertips. And that's why, again, I kind of go back to the AI and the intelligence. Like, that should actually be surfacing. A lot of the things that are coming up in our surveys, that predictive analytics, like that should actually be surfacing the top insights for you. That's the goal of the AI, right? Is here's all the data, find
That's
me the most salient points. I also don't ever want to forget and underestimate a marketer's gut.
totally.
Uh,
That's
You,
what got them there in certain cases.
It doesn't mean we're right. It doesn't mean that's the thing all the time, but we tend to have, I mean, being the types of people we are with our intuition, our empathy, our authenticity. And then when I'm able to do what I said, like step back and just look at the big picture, what's going on in the world, like what's going on at your company, what's going on in your local market, what's going on, like that can be a pivot point too, right?
Yeah,
That can be a decision point too. Doesn't need to be 100% always the data. So we can't forget about that, as we do have good instincts. Doesn't mean we're always right. We're always happy to be wrong and
totally.
learn from it. But I think that's important.
There's sometimes I wish I had those podcasts that run for 3 hours long because I have about 50 more questions. But I want to leave people with a little bit of maybe curiosity. What's your final word on in terms of like what brand, what marketing leader, what state do they find themselves in such that exploring solutions with Q makes sense? What's the ideal use case or brand
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
your guys' solution? I'm curious.
If you're serious about your growth as a company, and that growth might mean increasing top line growth, or it could be store count. It's usually the latter,
Yeah.
but either one of the two, like you're serious about growing your business from a profitability standpoint or a footprint standpoint, ideally both, you
Hmm.
need to be talking to Q,
Yeah.
right? You need to be thinking next generation technology, not what exists today. You have to be asking questions about every tech you're looking at today and asking the hard questions like, how is it going to get me to this next stage of growth that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
What type of results is it going to drive? I can rattle off a lot of results that we drive within the first 3 months. We have a franchisee at Blaze Pizza. The system paid for itself in 3 months because he was able to completely remove voids and deletes, which he didn't have visibility into before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you need to be asking the hard questions and you need to be challenging your other executive leaders because the CMOs right now are not standing up and saying, we need to have a better POS in our system, and we need to have a better, no one's saying we need to have better unified commerce platform. Everyone's talking around it, and some people are coming at it, but it's the rare leader that is, and it's always those growth-oriented, innovative companies. Those are the ones that really need to be talking to Q.
And to be clear, we're not talking top line growth because there's a lot of different rabbits you can pull out of a hat for top line growth. I mean, even things like eliminating tech debt. We're talking bottom line growth money.
Profitability. Yeah. Profit margins, bottom line. Yeah. Profitability. And you do that through efficiencies. Yeah.
Leave us with this, Jenifer. What fills your cup in coming back to Q every day and logging into the computer and doing your work? Like, why are you in there?
I mean, it's because of a lot of what we're talking about. It's the hospitality. It's the constant challenge and change. I mean, change can be exhausting. Like as humans, we don't always love change. But the way that the heart that the industry has for serving each other, just you inviting me on here, even though I'm not your typical demo, right? The heart of the industry is good, right? Hospitality is a very biblical concept too. It goes way back in time, right? And it's like serving others is a beautiful thing, whether you believe in, Bible or no Bible, right? Like it's a beautiful thing. And everyone I meet in this industry, so many of them are so passionate. That is infectious.
Yeah.
And we truly do believe that we're helping the world, right? We're helping make a better future for service and hospitality. And that stretches across all demographics in our country. People that, are, unfortunately maybe having to be on food stamps, or folks that are doing really well. I mean, it touches on every aspect of the macroeconomic conditions. And so we're just very passionate about that. I'm very passionate about it. I love the people like you that we get to work with. And it's a lot of doing it together. We don't do anything alone in hospitality, right? We're not all trying to be like, oh, look at me. Everything we're doing together with our partners and with our brands. And most of our customers, like they saddle up to us and we work together. They're not browbeating us, and we're not doing that to them, obviously. But I think it really comes down to the heart of hospitality and service and people, right? People are hurting. Like people are just hurting, and for so many reasons. And you look at a restaurant, and I go almost every day somewhere, and I just love walking in and seeing that person, behind the counter. Maybe it's at the drive-through, and thinking about their life and thinking about how they're there to serve. Yeah. And my personal mission is always to make them laugh or smile or, cheer them up a little bit. But it can be a hard job. It can be a hard job, and yet they're doing a lot.
I love that. I haven't often heard of it described that way, but you're so dead on. I mean, if you get back to the roots of it, we're just people, right? And we're called to serve each other, and there's a nobility in that. For that and many other things that we talked about today, Jen, thank you so much for sharing a bit of your perspective on this and the way you see things. And I think we share a lot of the same opinion. So thank you so much. Everyone, my guest, Kern.
Thank you so much, Caleb. Wishing you all the best and hope you have a great holiday and Merry Christmas.